start, madam?
Sure, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So, good afternoon, participants. Once again, welcome. Session 6 is going to start, and the title was Integration Renewable Energy in Smart Grid System, and resource person Professor Sarika Srivastava, madam. And my colleague will give the brief introduction about the resource person. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. So here, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sarika Srivastava, Madam, the Director of Ashoka Institute of Technology and Management, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. So a warm welcome to you, ma'am, to the wonderful session. So here, the Madam has more than 23 years of experience of academics, research, and industry. And Madam has completed PhD in electrical engineering from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. And Madam is the fellow of the Institute of Engineers. Also, the Madam has worked with Suzlon Energy Limited, Daman, India, which is the top 5th wind energy technology organization in the world. And she has worked with different Nobel certified laboratories as an electrical engineer. Also, Madam has published more than 30 research papers in international and national journals. And also, she were published more than 25 conferences. She was presented in 25 conferences. Also, she published book chapters in Springer and other international publications. And the Madam area of research includes academic leadership, power system operations and control, wind energy technology, electrical vehicle technology, and modern optimization techniques, and so on. So there are plenty of research working area is that. So thank you very much, Madam, for accepting our invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a generous introduction. And I would like to give my sincere thanks to Jawaharlal Technological University, Anandpur, College of Engineering, and my special thanks to Dr. Y.R. Reddy for inviting me as a resource person in the FDP, which is sponsored by ICT Atal Academy. And thank you so much, all the organizers and the Institute, for your kind invitation. And shall we start?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Sure, madam.
And I welcome all the participants for joining this session. It is 6th session, and I hope it is the 3rd session of today's session. So it's so you have gone through various technologies, various sessions, and today I'm going to give you some glimpse about what are the various challenges when we connect renewable energy to grid, to be specific, smart grid. So may I share my presentation?
Yes, madam. Sure, madam. Please.
So is it visible?
Yeah. Yes, madam. Visible, madam.
So, as far as renewable energy sources are concerned, we know enough about it, and all the conditions, existing conditions, future challenges are forcing all of us towards the solutions which are sustainable, which are able to meet sustainable development goals at the same time. So if I talk about my presentation, so it's going to outline, a brief outline of the presentation is we will discuss about what's the background, what are the various forces which are driving us towards renewable energy sources, and current Indian renewable energy sectors, what are the various statistics, various institutions, governing institutions of Indian electricity sectors, and renewable energy sectors of India. Further, in the context of the topic, that is renewable energy for industrial and domestic application, the topic of your FDP. So, energy sector is one of the most important sector for industrial development, and it's having a strong prominence in whether we talk about industry or we talk about domestic usage. It's a integration, it's a usage are inevitable, and in various smart grid techniques, the various current techniques like IoT and machine learning, big data, data analytics, smart sensor, all such are helping to grow the smart grid systems. So, what are the various ways to connect renewable sources to grid? And to be specific, we will discuss about what are the challenges while we connect wind energy sources to grid, and what are the various technologies, what are the various solutions to meet those challenges. And if we talk about smart grid, small building block of a smart grid is a microgrid, which in itself is a complete system, complete power system. So we will have.
Madam, your voice is not audible, madam. Your voice. Voice is not coming, madam.
Can you hear me, Rahul, now?
Yeah, yes, madam.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm so sorry, I was mute, so you couldn't hear any of the things I told you so far.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry. So first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the university, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Anandpur College of Engineering, for inviting me, and for the my special thanks to the person who introduced me, and I'm thankful to Dr. Y.R. Reddy for his invitation, and so today we are going to discuss about the various challenges while we connect renewable energy sources to smart grid system. There are some challenges and what can be the various solutions. We will talk about it, and the brief outline of the presentation is as given. So we will discuss about what's the background, what are the various forces those are driving us for renewable energy based solutions for industry as well as for the domestic purpose. The topic of your MPP is renewable energy for industrial and domestic applications. So renewable energy is useful for both the applications, whether we talk about industrial applications or we for domestic usage. In both the conditions, its usage are very much there. And in outline, we will discuss about what's current renewable energy scenario of India, and various institutions, ministry and various institutions of Indian electricity sectors. We will discuss about it. Further, we will see how much, what's the current scenario of renewables in our country. Then we will discuss about industry 4.0 versus energy 4.0, and various recent technologies, tremendous development in the technology of data analytics, big data, IoT, smart sensors, and all such technologies are very much part of smart grid. And then we will see the various types of renewable energy sources that can be connected to grids, and in particular we will see the various solutions, various challenges while we connect wind energy resources to grid, and we will discuss about the challenges while we integrate the electric vehicle to grid. It is we see that a lot of development in the field of electric vehicles are going on. It's a buzzword, and every automobile company either introducing their electric vehicles or they are planning to introduce them in coming future. So it's a and it has got a significant effect in the grid as well. And if we connect, there are some specific conditions, like if the grid is weak, it's for rural area, it is distant area, so they suffer from various issues of weak grid. So how to handle those problems, we will have some real life examples of those as well. And what are the challenges associated with PV? Everybody knows about PV, so I have given a brief overview of PV. What are the various challenges that we are going to face? Further, the various initiatives of Ministry of Renewable and New Sources, and then we will conclude. So, if we talk about, this is the basis behind development of renewable sources. As we all know that energy consumption is very high, and day by day it's increasing, and we need to reduce the carbon footprints, and further the cost of fuel is rising like anything. So all such forces are there to look for renewable energy solutions.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Slides are not opening, madam. Slides. It is in
Not-
first.
It's not moving.
Yeah, it is was first slide only, madam.
Okay, so what I will do, I am stopping the slide. I will share PDF. So I think that will be better.
Yeah,
Give me a minute.
yeah, now it is.
Is it visible now?
Yes, madam. Fine. Yeah, moving.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Okay, so as we discussed that various forces like high energy consumption, standard of living is increasing, and the per capita as consumption of energy is increasing. Other industrial developments are going on, so all such are forcing us for more generation, and as our conventional sources, they are depleting. So fuel-based sources, fossil fuel-based reserves are depleting. So we need to look for solutions which are renewable based. But when we integrate a large amount of renewable energy to power system, there are a lot of challenges associated with it. So if we talk about industrial activities, any kind of industry, whether it is paper, pulp, or textile, or mineral, or chemical, metallurgy-based industry, food processing, agriculture, you talk about an energy requirement is there. And everybody knows about instability of fuel prices. All such are requiring for renewable based solutions. So what is desirable from renewable energy sources? Whenever we connect renewable sources to power system grid, what as a consumer, as a user, what is expected that there should be right quality of power available to us. So quality of power is a major task, which is to renewable energy sources should meet those grid codes, those requirements of standards. Power system security is a major task. A lot of security based threats are arising. Technology has got its own disadvantages as well. So if it is not in right hands, if it is not used correctly, it is quite hazardous too. So power system security and stability of larger system, power system, is a big task. So definitely renewable energy sources has got their own characteristics and difficult to get all such things whenever we connect them with existing system. So a robust fault right through performances. What does it mean? That whenever there is a condition of fault, when the fault is clear, the system should remain stable. It should be able to continue its supply as well. And voltage control. Voltage should be stable. It should be constant voltage supply is required, and active and reactive power flows are typical tasks remain to be solved. These are the major problems associated with renewable sources. So if we see the current renewable energy scenario, so by January 2021, the current share of renewable energy in total installed capacity is 24.59%. So its installation of so far the renewable energy sources which are installed, their contribution is quite significant. 24.53 is definitely a decent number, and in generation they are contributing 11% out of total generation that's being produced. It's contributing around 11% of it. So we can see that from 2014-15 to 2020-21, continuously its generation and installation capacity is increasing, and in somewhere around 5 years, it's roughly multiplied. It's double. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, madam.
Am I audible enough?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
If there is any problem, please let me know. Okay. You may ask anything in between as well.
Yeah, okay, madam.
So, if we talk about its share, so non-renewable sources are coal, gas, diesel, and their contribution is 63%. And nuclear is also renewable, and large hydro, small hydro, solar, when their total is 37%. So out of 100%, 37% is the contribution of grid connected capacity. So it's not so that only if we talk about nuclear, earlier their development were very high, but due to some catastrophic destructions, it restricted us for its growth, and the major focus is still on solar and wind. So we can see their contribution is also very, very high. 10.61% is of solar and 10.59% contribution is of wind. So it's definitely a very prominent contribution, very significant contribution from both the sources. So if we, Indian electricity sectors has got various ministries. Ministry of Power is there, and a separate dedicated Ministry of Renewable and Renewable Energy is also there. It's a and broad aim of the ministry is to develop new energy sources and fulfill the energy requirement of the country. And further, the responsibility of environment is there with Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So, and further, still we are continuing with electricity sector law, Electricity Act, that is 2003. So these are the various bodies. And we have got ample of power generation, but still there are various constraints, various challenges associated with lack of infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure, which is able to cater the need of all the people of the country. So Government of India has launched the scheme Power for All, and its objective is to ensure the continuity of electricity supply to uninterrupted reliable supply to every household, industry and commercial establishment. And for that we need to create and improve existing. We need to develop new infrastructures as well as existing infrastructure has to be improved. So these are the various factors. Policy support, lot of incentives, leverages are there with renewable energy sectors. Technology is improving day by day. Significant research is still going on. Cost reduction, significant cost reduction is there, and environmental concerns are always there. So if we see Industry 4.0 environment, so we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and various current technologies, emerging technologies like IoT, big data analytics, and machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, all such things are helping us to create a right ambience for implementation of Industry 4.0. And definitely smart grid is a very prominent component of industrial. It's also undergoing, existing grid is also undergoing this revolution, and under the name of Energy 4.0. So what are the existing, whatever be the existing energy scenario, digital transformation of it's going on. We see a lot of things like phasor measurement units are there for continuous measurement of various parameters of grid, like current, voltage, frequency, wave, and everything, fault conditions, and state of power flow, and protection system is digitized. Two-way communication is possible between utility and consumers, and it's a big opportunity for all of us as well. So it is a digital revolution. It is a kind of digital revolution, and smart grid, various smart grid projects are already going on, and they are incorporating IoT, data science, machine learning, and cloud computing. These are the main drivers of Energy 4.0. And smart grid, if we compare the smart grid with conventional grid, in conventional grid, there were one-way communication. It was from utility to customer. But as we see smart meters at every house, every consumer's place, so now two-way communication is possible with the inclusion of digital technologies. So digital technologies that allows the two-way communication between the utility and its customer, and sensing along the transmission line it makes the grid smart. So earlier the communication was from utility to customers. Now it is both the ways. Communication is two-way. And even the direction of power flow, it is also two-way. Earlier, only the power plants need to supply the power to consumer. Now, with the help of solar power, with the help of electric vehicle, the consumers can also feed the power back to the grid. So, two-way communication of information as well as two-way communication of power flow is also possible. So this is a smart grid conceptual model. So the dotted lines, it's showing the electrical connection. So if we talk about a power system, it consists of generation, transmission, distribution, and consumer. There is electrical connection between all these. And there is information or communication flow. It is connected with market, various operations, and service providers. So market is connected with service provider, market is connected with operations, it is connected with all these. Because now with the help of distributed generation, with the help of two-way transfer of power, its pricing is also being affected. So every time the in peak hours the price will be different, in off peak hours the price may be different depending on the availability of the power. So this is a smart grid infrastructure, all kind of power systems, whether it is power plants, whether it is conventional or it is renewable energy based. It's their energy management system based on this PMU based energy management system, SCADA based energy based management system is there. Supervisory control, SCADA is supervisory control data acquisition. So the whole system is closely connected in terms of communication. So they can communicate with each other, and further monitoring and control is required. So if we compare the existing grid and futuristic smart grid, and in different pockets, in different parts, the smart grid implementation is going on at a very, very high speed. So while existing grid has got electromechanical components, and in a smart grid, digital meters, digital devices are there, digital protection systems are there. Earlier there were relays, there were protection system which was largely based on electromechanical, electromagnetic based, but now microprocessor based, digital based, multifunctional, modular based protection systems are there, which are able to handle, which are very quite sensitive, very multitasking, as well as able to clear the fault at a very high speed. And further, very good fault right through performance. While in case of existing grid, there were one-way communication, and in a smart grid, two-way communication is possible. RFID, IoT, they have changed the system drastically. While in case of a conventional grid, it was a centralized generation, but now distributed generation is there. Small generating systems, small wind farms, small rooftop PV systems, they are there, and they can meet the local demands as well. They can consume the electricity as well as they can exchange with grid as well. Limited, while in case of older grid, limited inclusion of sensors were there, but in smart grid system, smart sensors are everywhere. All the system is have got numerous sensors. And in case of existing grid, manual monitoring was there, but in case of smart grid, self-monitoring is there. There are problems associated with failures and blackouts. In the previous years, we saw various conditions of failures, blackouts were there. But we hope so that with the help of smart grid infrastructure development, it would be possible to island the faulty section, and we will be able to resume the remaining system unaffected. While in case of previous system, limited control is there, but in case of every point, every component of the system can be controlled. Here, manual restoration of the system is required. It is of self-healing kind. These are the various major components of a smart grid. We need to have a smart infrastructure, smart communication, smart management, smart protection. And smart infrastructure has got two parts. One is energy system, another is information system. As we saw that the smart energy system, it has got generation, transmission, as well as distribution. And information system has got metering, smart metering, sensors, PMUs, phasor measurement unit, and information management. So security of power system with so much of inclusion of IT it's very challenging. So a smart grid has got various component: bulk generation, transmission, distribution, customer. Further, at another end, there are service provider, operations, and market. So we had electricity generation, there are various power plants, and transmission system is there to carry the bulk power. Distribution system is there to fulfill the demand of to send the power received to various consumers, industrial, domestic, as well as commercial. And these customers are the end user. Market, operations, and participants in electricity market. And now each and consumer, every consumer can also be the part of operators, and it can be the participant. So managing all such functions efficiently is definitely a big task. So power system operation, POSOCO, that is Power System Operation Corporation Limited. It is a division of Power Grid Corporation, which is under the jurisdiction of Ministry of Power. It is under Ministry of Power. It is responsible to monitor and ensure round-the-clock integrated operation of Indian power system in a reliable, efficient, and secure manner, so that we can manage all the load centers, regional load centers, as well as national load dispatch center. So national load dispatch center is abbreviated as NLDC, and 5 regional load dispatch centers are there. So interacting with all of them, and their continuous monitoring, continuous control, integrated operation is being ensured by POSOCO. So grid interactive, various projects are already there, and upcoming projects are there. So wind power, biomass, small hydro, and solar, they are main sources. And various private investment players are already there, and they need to abide with the rules of State Electricity Regulation Commission. We saw that somewhere around more than 10% of generation demands are being met by wind energy sources, and it's difficult to understand its operation. So various types of wind energy convergence systems are there, and whenever we have to connect them, it's a big challenge. The largest wind turbine so far is 9.5 megawatt Vestas wind turbine, and it is able to produce 9.5 megawatt watt by single machine. It's definitely a huge one. You can imagine its size. Its overall height is 220 meters, 722 feet. So getting right of way, undisturbed wind for such a wind turbine, it's a big task. And its diameter is 154, and it's the largest wind turbine since 2014. So Vestas is a very big player in industry, in wind energy market. And in India, it's a Muppadal wind farm. Its capacity is 1500 megawatt, and it is the largest. And if we see what are the problem areas, so critical challenges are still there. Its nature, as we know, that wind is produced due to difference of flow of air as wind, and it is produced due to difference in the pressure. So solution resolution, there are local winds, there are global winds. So installation of wind power plants to a location, it is a long-term project, because you need to identify the right site for it. There should be obstruction-free wind available throughout the year. Department of Meteorology, they gives data, and further whosoever is going to install wind turbine or going to build up wind farms, they will establish their own system to measure wind velocity, wind direction for at least 5 years. Then only it is ensured that this particular site is suitable for installing wind turbine, wind farms. So the major problem is with wind, as we know, it is unpredictable, variable nature, variable output. And what kind of requirement of power system is there, that whenever we need power, it should be available. But am I audible now?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Audible.
Anybody has got any questions, you may ask in between.
Yeah.
Are
Okay.
we on the same page? Are you able to follow me? Okay. So and if a condition of high amount of wind energy integration is concerned, so it's a very big task, because it's going to influence the power system stability. One source which is quite constant, if we talk about conventional sources like thermal power plants, like hydroelectric power plants, they are stable sources of electricity. Their power quality is not compromised. They are able to give constant power, but the conditions are not same with renewable energy sources. They are highly variable in nature. So definitely, when we connect a very large system, renewable energy system, to power existing grid, its stability, its performance, its voltage, its frequency, everything is going to be affected. So there are systems to control it. With this is the marvel of technology. With the increase of wind energy penetration, interaction between the grid and wind farm generating capacity electricity becomes more and more critical. As the size of the power systems are increasing, as the inclusion of penetration of wind energy and other renewables are increasing, it has become more and more challenging for the system to maintain stability as well as reliability. So what is expected? There is no such exclusion, there is no such kind of excuse that if the power plant is renewable, the system should not be have compliance with the grid codes. No, it's not so. They are expected to offer all the power quality, continuity of power, everything similar to conventional sources. So it's the responsibility of the power plants to ensure continuity of supply, reliability of the supply, as well as power quality. So as the wind velocity is variable, so definitely the output will also be variable, and we know that power is proportional to cube of wind velocity. Even a small change in wind will contribute to significant change in power, and due to fluctuations in variation in wind, the produced voltage and frequency fluctuations may also be there. So there are various kinds of generators, various kinds of technologies. Significant development has been done and is still going on to ensure the constant voltage, constant frequency supply. And whenever there is a tripping, due to tripping or fault in the power system is there, it is a big challenge, but they have to have arrangement that as soon as the condition is normalized, they should remain connected in the system. And active power generation and lack of reactive power control, voltage and voltage regulation, power and voltage control is a big task. Actually, the power that we use is which is useful is active power, but the electrical generator, which are used in wind energy systems. Wind turbine is coupled with various types of electrical generators. So the various kinds of fluctuations, disturbances may pass through electrical generators also. And further, while we start this generator, when wind velocity is sufficiently high, when it is more than cut-in wind velocity. Cut-in wind velocity is the wind velocity at which the wind turbine is able to produce power which is connected to the grid. When wind velocity exceeds the cut-in wind velocity, the direction of power will be towards grid. But to reach up to the rated velocity of generator, to establish the flux, reactive power flow is required, which is being supplied by local system like capacitor banks, and new technologies like DR5G generators are there. They doesn't require they don't require any kind of local support. They themselves have got converters, which are able to handle reactive power demand. And if reactive power demand is not able to be supplied locally, it may lead to instability of the whole power system. What will happen if demand of reactive power is not met locally by wind energy conversion system? The system will draw the reactive power from grid. That means from some kind of other generator which is connected in the grid. So what will happen? this will make the system unstable. So it is going to affect the voltage regulation as well. Voltage may become unstable. So what is required, that renewable system energy sources should have their own support, their own mechanism of supplying reactive power. So capacitors, large size capacitors, FACTS devices are there to give the electrical reactive power locally. Further, there are weak grids. We know that distant places like rural areas are there, where only few consumers are there, and transmission line and distribution lines are very long. So what happens? There is significant drop of power, and due to long lines, there is capacitive effect as well. So there are various issues associated with it, and weak grids are susceptible to any change. They are prone to voltage fluctuations, frequency fluctuations. So they need to be handled specifically. So we need to integrate, if we need to utilize the full potential of wind energy, we know that long back, there are both the applications of energy. Wind energy are there. It can be used to have mechanical energy, or it can be used to produce electrical energy. But to utilize its full potential, it has to be integrated to transmission grid, because electricity is one form of one form of energy which can easily be converted into other form, including mechanical energy. So what is expected? The grid should be extremely stable. And these are two contradictory things. One, while we expect a stable supply, but wind is variable. So there are 4 kinds of wind conversion technologies prevailing. Fixed speed wind energy conversion system. It doesn't have any power conversion interface. It uses squirrel cage induction generator. Type 2 is variable, is again a squirrel cage induction generator coupled with rotor resistance. Type 3 is doubly fed induction generator. It is able to, both of these are, first one is fixed speed, nearly fixed speed, and the third one is able to work over a wider range of speed, wider range of wind velocity. And the fourth one is type 4, is using synchronous permanent magnet synchronous generator, and it can work over a very wide range of speed. But the difference is there. It requires, type 3 requires reduced capacity power electronic devices, but type 4 requires full capacity power electronic devices converters. So market share is there. Type 1 is 19% and type 3 is 55%. So major contribution is of 55%. So followed by type 1. Type 3 and type 1, these are two technologies which are, this is the oldest one, that's why it's going on. It is the cheapest one as well. So it's going on, and 55% type 3 has got its advantage due to reduced capacity power electronic devices. So this is the basic schematic of wind energy conversion system type 1. Kinetic energy of wind is converted into mechanical energy with the help of wind turbine, and it produces low speed, high torque. To convert it into high speed, low torque, we use gearbox. There may be planetary gearboxes, multi-stage gearbox is there to change the high speed, low velocity into high speed, wind turbine has got, it converts mechanical energy, and this shaft has got low velocity, high torque. And here what is required? High velocity. So it is connected through fluid coupling. Fluid coupling is able to limit the vibrations which are available at mechanical side to the electrical side. So induction generators are three-phase generators, and initially they work as motor. Initially they draw power from the electrical grid to start as motor, and when the speed becomes sufficiently high, more than the synchronous speed, then the direction of power flow becomes, it acts as generator. It starts as motor and then it starts working as generator, and this power is fed to the grid. And as we discussed earlier, that reactive power requirement is there to start a generator. But if we take the reactive power from the grid, it will unstabilize the grid. So to meet reactive power demands, local capacitor banks are there which can fulfill their local demands. So induction generators, this is the most common technology which used earlier, and it's most cost effective solution till date. Then this is it has got the largest market share. This is using again induction generator, but with specific kind of construction, that is doubly fed induction generator. Again, the kinetic energy of it is converted into mechanical energy, rotational energy, and with the help of gearbox, its rotor is connected with doubly fed induction generator. It has got two converters. One, there are two paths to supply, which is connected with stator outer part, which is carrying three-phase winding. It is connected to grid, and an alternate path is through rotor. So that's why it is able to work over a broader range of speed. So one converter is here, another here. Both are coupled through DC link. If we talk about a bigger system, in a wind farm there may be various a number of wind turbines of any type. So in the first case, squirrel cage induction generator based wind farm has been considered. That means type 1. So this is a wind farm. Capacity of wind farm is 9 megawatt, and in the previous slides, the specifications are there. That is 1.5 megawatt wind turbine, 6 multiplied by 1.5. So this is the total 9 megawatt is the capacity of wind farm. It is connected to the grid. This is the depiction of grid. It is connected through transformer, transmission line, and with the help of locally supplying capacitor banks and further FACTS devices, we can improve the performance of the system under the various conditions of faults. Whenever there is a condition of fault, there is a significant fluctuation of voltage and frequency. So that can be controlled with the help of support which is being provided by capacitor banks as well as STATCOM. So stator winding is directly connected to the grid, and rotor is driven by variable pitch wind turbines. The pitch angle is controlled in order to limit the generator output at its nominal value for wind exceeding the nominal speed. See, what happens in case of wind turbines, there is cut-in wind speed below which it's not able to sufficient be connected with the grid, and there is limitation of power as well, limitation of wind velocity as well, beyond which we need to cut it from the system. or we have to have mechanism, pitch angle mechanism, pitch mechanism. What is pitch mechanism? Wind turbine blades, they are able to rotate on their axis. So impact of wind can be, angle of attack of wind can be changed, and this will further use continuous control of pitch angle is required for ensuring the constant power at the output. If there is condition of overwind, we cannot utilize it. We have to reduce its effect, because every machine has got its own capacity. You can't overload it. So if wind velocity is high, you have to cut it out. And there may be the condition of very high wind velocity, which is like the condition of a storm, some kind of hurricane. So under that condition, what is required? You have to completely shut down the whole machine. So in order to generate the power, the induction generator speed must be slightly above the synchronous speed. So if the speed is slightly above the synchronous speed, then only it will act as generator. At very low speed, it will act as motor only. So this is the whole system which is simulated, and this is the three-phase faults, various kinds of faults we can introduce, and this is the capacitor bank which can be included in the system under whenever there is requirement of reactive power. So when we simulate this system and we work upon the system, what happens whenever any induction generator is connected to grid, there are significant fluctuations at the time of starting. So when we connect the synchronous induction generator, squirrel cage induction generator to grid, there are significant fluctuation at the time of start in voltage, in power, in reactive power, voltage. All such parameters are highly fluctuating, and then it becomes stabilized. So if these fluctuations are very high, they may affect the system largely. The whole power system will be affected significantly. So handling this condition smoothly is a big task. So here a comparison of various conditions are there. If we don't use any kind of support, this is the scenario of voltage. That means the condition of high fluctuation and low voltage will be there. If we include capacitor bank, there will be improvement in the profile of the voltage. Voltage will be a bit improved, as well as fluctuation will also be reduced. If we include STATCOM, that is a fax device. So if we include fax device, it's going to improve the voltage. And if we are able to connect both, that is fact devices and capacitor bank simultaneously, though it's expensive, but it's able to handle the situation very well. So this is the comparison. So this is the condition during a startup, and this is the normal condition once it is connected. And if a condition of fault occurs, if there is sudden condition of fault, we see that after clearance of fault, it is able to restore the conditions. If we have got support from capacitor bank and STATCOM, even after when it went through a fault, it is able to regain its stability of voltage. So there are various kinds of fault: single line to ground fault, double line to ground fault, and three-phase fault. And so in all the conditions, in various fault conditions, we see that we are able to handle the situation well with the support of capacitor banks as well as STATCOM. And there may be condition of unsymmetrical faults as well. There can be the condition of symmetrical fault as well. Symmetrical fault means all three phases are short circuited and there it is connected to ground or it may not be connected to ground. In the previous slides, we discussed about the challenges that we interconnect squirrel cage induction generator based wind energy conversion system to grid. And the next one is the most popular kind of technology, that is DFIG. 55% kind of percentage share of DFIG is there in the market. And whether the renewable source is photovoltaic cell or wind, there are converter systems required. We need to have converter system, and multi-level converter system is one technology which can be used either in case of solar PV cells or in case of wind, and it gives very good results in terms of quality of power. It improves the quality, it gives and reduces the harmonics, disturbances. It is able to handle large harmonics, and its percentage of harmonics in the which are being fed to the grid are reduced. As we keep on increasing the level of the converter, it's going to reduce the percentage of harmonics. So we, as a consumer, we face such kind of situation on and off, like as the whole system is integrated, and various household devices like your UPS, your computers, your all non-linear loads, they feed different kinds of harmonics to the power system, and those power harmonics may travel and can damage the other devices as well. So in case of type 3 wind turbines, as well as we are using converters as whenever there is any power electronic device, whether it is inverter or UPS, SMPS, there is production of harmonics, which is very much harmful. And to handle those harmonics, one technology is multi-level inverter. It's it can be implemented for both the cases, wind as well as solar. So this is another kind of system. Here again, 9 megawatt wind farm, 1.5 megawatt wind turbine of each, and it is connected to grid. And if we compare the two-level multi-level PWM converter and multi-level three-level PWM inverters, under all the condition, normal as well as under the condition of fault, distortion are significantly reduced. So that is the target. If we keep on, we can increase the level further. It's not up to 3 level. There are very high levels available. So we can improve the quality of power. So if we talk about a smart grid, a microgrid is one building block of a smart grid. And today, power supply companies are facing various difficulties like load requirement. Consumer satisfaction is a big task. Further, they have to handle environmental considerations as well. So what's the solution? It's distributed generation. Instead of bulk power plants, what is expected? We should need to have local suppliers of distributed generation. So the pressure on the main grid is reduced, and few local loads can be met by these distributed generations. So the waste heat generated from fuel to electricity conversion is used by the distributed generation system with the help of micro turbine, reciprocating engines, and fuel cells to provide heat and power to consumers. So various bio-based plants are already there, and it's possible to convert these into electricity demands and can meet the requirements of the limited geographical area. So distributed energy sources are photovoltaic panels, they can be wind turbines, energy storage devices, like as both wind as well as solar, both are intermittent sources. So whenever they are not available, if some mechanism of energy storage is there, like batteries or capacitors, we can supply under those conditions when they are not available. And when we need to further environmental conditions are forcing us to reduce the carbon footprints. But the issues with them are their distributed generator faces technological issues, as they are small in size, small wind turbines, they have got small inertia. So whenever there is a small inertia, large, they are susceptible to major fluctuations. So distribution generation faces technological issue regarding its connection to intermittent renewable generation and feeble area of the distribution network, wherever there is weak system. And further, owing to distinct behavior of distribution generation, like the conventional load, alteration in power flow results in problem. Most of the distributed generators are intermittent sources. They are able to produce fluctuating power, variable power, and they may be unavailable whenever it is required. So their inclusion is good, intention is good, but challenges are big. To counter the irregular behavior and increase penetration, distribution generation microgrids are introduced, and they have the ability to respond to changes in the load while decreasing feeder losses and improving local reliability. Basically designed to cater for heat and power requirement of local customer. So in itself, for a small geographical area, they have got their own generating system, they have got their own distributing system there, and loads are all loads are there. Further, those loads are able to produce as well as generate. Like if PV rooftops are there on various houses, they may consume the electricity when they were not when solar is not able to cater their demands, but when surplus of electricity is there, they can feed it to the local other loads. It has the potential to serve as alternative power source, utilizing unconventional sources, supplying the most critical loads of the main grid in the case of network failure. So what is the advantage? If some kind of disturbances are there in the whole system, microgrid can continue with its own supply. And they are low voltage networks. They are part of the whole system, but in itself, they can be grid connected microgrids and islanded mode. They can operate in islanded mode as well. So if some kind of fault is there, they may work in isolation as well, because they have got their own generating system as well as they have their own utility consumers as well. So this is a small picture of microgrid scenario, smart grid scenario. So this is one local consumer, which is connected with the help of power grid. And if it has got solar rooftop panels, which is able to produce DC only, as we know that solar PV cells are able to produce DC. So we need to have inverter which converts DC into AC, and further, this is the solar panel. So solar panel is able to convert. There are DC to DC converter, HVDC bus is there. This DC to DC converter will convert low voltage into high voltage DC, and this will further convert DC into AC, which is able to fulfill its demand, and it can be connected to the grid with the help of local substation transformer. So solar power is producing DC, which is converted into higher level of voltage with the help of DC to DC converter, and further DC is converted into AC with the help of inverter, and which is being able to cater the demand of the university, and which is connected to the power grid. So if it is not able to as solar power is not available throughout the 24 hours, so whenever it is not there, it may store the energy in batteries, and that battery is able to fulfill the demand during night when sun availability is not there. So battery is further there will be requirement of converter, bidirectional converter, that is DC to DC converter. So this DC to DC converter is bidirectional. That means when surplus of power is there, this DC will be supplied to battery to charge it, and during when the need of power is there and solar panel is not able to fulfill it, battery will supply the power to the load with the help of DC to DC converter and inverter. So these are some of the changes. It is able to produce variable power, variable voltage. One important technology which is growing at a rapid rate, very fast exponential rate, is vector to grid technology. So is it feasible to switch from a conventional IC engine based vehicles to electric vehicle? It's a big question. It has got its own plus and minus things, pros and cons, because if a very large number of electric vehicles are there, there will be huge impact on electricity grid. It is for sure. So how to handle it? It's going to be a challenging task, because if all the vehicles, most of the vehicle will be converted into electric vehicles and everybody is charging it, so definitely the current pattern of consumption of electricity will definitely change. It will increase as well as its variation will be different. And if we fulfill that demand through conventional sources like your thermal power plant or hydroelectric power plants, even if and as far as the hydroelectric power plants are there, they have got we cannot depend throughout the year upon them. What availability of water is not there throughout the year, so mainly we are depending on thermal based sources. So what will be required? On one it is a rather I will say there will be a contradictory situation. With the help of electric vehicles, we are trying to reduce the pollution and carbon footprints, environmental impact, we are trying to reduce it. But on the contrary, to run those vehicles, to charge those vehicles, we need to build more power plants. And if those power plants are thermal based, which themselves are a big source of pollution, then what is the point of switching to electric vehicles? So what is there? What is required? We need to increase the generation from intermittent renewable sources. So solar and wind, they are the potential source. They are abundantly available throughout the year. So their geographical spread is very large. So, but on if we talk about other feature, it may be, if it is used effectively, it is used efficiently, the situation may become better as well. It may be used to stabilize the condition. It may be used to stabilize improve the conditions of grid as well. So with the help of vehicle-to-grid technology, it is possible to store surplus electricity generated from intermittent renewable solar and wind sources. Why renewable sources? As we know, solar and wind both are intermittent. What is the way that they can give constant supply? If we have got energy storage devices, and we know that energy storage devices, batteries, they are very much costly. They are going to increase the cost to a very large extent. But on the contrary, what vehicles are doing, electric vehicles, if a large number of electric vehicles are there, and if we use them efficiently, they are parked, they are charged, collectively they can be used as a battery store. Their whole battery can be used to supply the electricity during peak hours, and they may charge their vehicles during non-peak hours. So we can smoothen the curve of consumption. So with the help of V2G technology, it is possible to store surplus electricity generated from solar and wind in EV batteries during non-peak hours, like in the night when vehicles are parked, we can charge them as the other loads are reduced. So during the nights, the consumption of electricity is low. During those hours, we can charge our vehicles and feed power back to the grid when needed. And it will increase the grid stability, and it will further reduce the electricity cost as well. So whenever it is going to integrated to grid, it's going to have a major challenges. So further, we know it's going to, we need significant infrastructural development is required. Right now, very few charging stations are there. If with the speed, we need to grow that infrastructure very efficiently. At every highways, at every after some distance, we need to have charging stations. And significant research is going on in the field of battery technology. Lithium-ion batteries are showing very promising result. High-density batteries are there. Their size is reduced, and with very fast charging circuits are there. So all the big players like Tesla, and even if you talk about local players, everybody is producing one or other kind of electric vehicle, hybrid electric vehicle, as well as plug-in electric vehicles. So both kind of infrastructure has to be developed. One is charging infrastructure for electric vehicles, another is communication infrastructure. How will you communicate with the grid? With the help of communication system. Each and every user of electric vehicle, if he is willing, he should actively participate in the system. then only we can expect good results. So through mobile or some kind of apps, through some mechanism, each and every electric vehicle owner should also be connected with the grid. So bulk data handling, big data analytics, cloud computing, cloud storage. We need to process bulk data. So in electrical energy sectors, huge requirement of IT development is there. Huge scope for it is there. So plug-in electric vehicle and hybrid electric vehicles generate, inject, and consume energy within the consumption center has a significant effect on the distribution system. Whether we talk about hybrid electric vehicle, they consume as well as inject. They can generate, inject as well as consume electricity. So there will be increase in common household electricity consumption. Everybody is going to charge the electric vehicle, so your monthly bill of electricity is definitely be much more high. And if demand will be high, we may expect that there will be a rise in the price of the electricity too. So there may be many electric vehicles which may be getting charged overnight. Charging of electric vehicles at night will help the uniform loading pattern than that is present in the time. Better capacity utilization is possible and better voltage regulation is also possible. Electric vehicles owners can buy electricity from the market mainly at valley hours to charge their EVs and sell it at peak hours by taking advantage of the EV storage capabilities, achieving peak shaving and valley filling. Peak shaving means peak of the demand can be reduced, and valley filling means dip of the consumption can become higher when we charge it. EVs as an energy storage device can help the conventional frequency regulation resources. There are two main power quality parameters, frequency as well as voltage. Both need to be stabilized. So electric vehicles can participate in frequency regulation as well, voltage as well as frequency. So this is one small model of vehicle to grid simulation model, one frequency regulation. It is a small system. Here 4.5 megawatt capacity wind farm is there, small wind farm of 4.5 megawatt, PV farm of 8 megawatt, residential load consisting of 10 megawatt, its power factor is 1.15, asymmetrical loads 0.16 mega MVA. Both of them are PV renewable sources, but as we know, they are intermittent sources, and to support them to fulfill the peak load demands, diesel generator is there, that is of 15 megawatt. And one load is your conventional load, like various kinds of fans and motors and light load. And electric vehicles V2G, that is 4 megawatt capacity V2G system is there. So with the help of, if we see the pattern, this is the pattern of solar irradiation in 24 hours. For 24 hours, this is the pattern, 0 hour to 7 a.m. in the morning. There is no availability of sun. Gradually it's increasing, and somewhere around around 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock it's touching its peak, and gradually it's decreasing, and as soon as the sunset is there, we won't be able to get it. So this is the pattern of solar irradiation. So irradiation in watt per square meter, this is the condition. And if we talk about wind, it is available throughout the day, but there are fluctuations. There are serious, every moment it's changing, continuous fluctuation of wind is there. So this is 9 meter per second. This is the rated wind velocity. Usually most of the wind turbines and conditions are, further it depends on the geographical location, different wind conditions, their capacity of wind turbines at which they will give output is different. So we have taken a wind turbine which its rated speed power is at 9 meter per second. So there is further fluctuation throughout the day, as we discussed earlier as well. We need to smooth this out. We have to smoothen this fluctuation in terms of power. If wind is that much fluctuating, we are going to get highly variable output, discontinuous power, so which is not acceptable. So we have got pitch mechanism to reduce the fluctuations, to give constant output. And this is the pattern of our daily consumption. You see, this is from for 24 hours. In the morning, it is something like midnight, it's like that, and gradually 5 a.m. to gradually it's increasing. And in the evening, somewhere around 5 o'clock or so, after 5 o'clock, it's touching its peak, and gradually it's reducing. So if we can, in this system, if we can use all three in combination, like solar, wind, and diesel power in combination, and electric vehicles are already integrated into the grid, we can fill the valleys. That means if during these hours, if we increase the connection of electric vehicles to grid for charging, valley filling will be there. And if we supply the electric power from electric vehicle to grid during these high energy demand hours, it will reduce the peak. So this is known as peak shaving and valley filling. So the curve will be smoother. And with the help of all kinds of, this is the active power which is being produced by all combination of all three. So red is showing PV, and black is diesel, green is wind, and black is the total power is being given by the blue one, summation, with the help of all three. So, and so should I continue?
Yes, madam. Yes, yes,
Or
madam.
we will need a break.
No, madam. Continue, madam.
Okay.
Good.
So another scenario is weak grid. So weak grid is the condition where we need to take voltage and other fluctuations into account. So size of wind and solar farms is continuously increasing. Day by day, they are becoming bigger and bigger, and usually they are far away from the loads. So usually the power plants are installed where they get uninterrupted supply of everything. So in terms of wind, sites are there away from the population, so we can get uninterrupted wind, and for solar also there should not be any shading. So it results in connecting to weak grids. So weak grids are characterized by short circuit ratios and high impedance, and we need to take into account the voltage and frequency fluctuations. So this is the condition again with the wind farm, and we have included STATCOM, one FACTS device, which is able to handle the condition of wind power, and even under the condition of fluctuating wind condition, grid strength condition, we can get a smoother supply. So with the help of, this is the condition of a strong grid. Strong grid means which is not affected with the inclusion of any of the renewable devices. But if it is a weak grid, somewhere its X by R ratio is very less and length of the line is very high, 250 kilometers, far away from the load. So with the help of STRATCOM, we can improve the fluctuations. So initially its fluctuations are there, but with the help of STRATCOM, here at this point we are including STRATCOM, so we can get a smoother power. It is voltage, active power as well as reactive power. So initially it's fluctuating, but with the STRATCOM we can stabilize it. Okay, so this is another scenario. The next one is solar energy. We know a lot of solar panels we see around us, and India is amongst top 5 countries in terms of renewable energy sources because of major contribution from the solar energy. So in the first half of 21, India recorded 4,578 megawatt of solar capacity, a 251 increase compared to the same period last year. You see, so it doesn't has got any COVID effect. So there is at least one sector which is showing promising results in terms of capacity building of, which is laying a good foundation for future to cater future energy demands. So further, there are issues when we connect solar PV to grid. As we know, it's available in abundance and its technology is already mature. But it is available in abundance, but at the same time, it's not continuous source, it is intermittent, it is not available throughout the day. It's available when sun is available. Further, it has got other effects as well. But with over the period of a decade, its technology is mature now. So now the gradually its cost has already reduced drastically, and which is the main factor behind its large implementation. Smart grids can integrate solar source electricity such as rooftop solar PV along with traditional power generation. So smart grid has got that capability. It can handle two-way generation, two-way power, flow of power, as well as two-way flow of information. So it has got very, it is already there all over the world, and the future is with us. So in India, solar installed capacity was 40.09 gigawatt as of 31st of March 21. So we see installed cumulative national state-wise capacity, cumulative capacity in megawatt is in the year 2020, it was 34,627 megawatts. This is the installed capacity. It's not so that the whole one is every time we are going to get this much of power. It's not so. We cannot utilize up to full limit every time. So this is installed capacity. So it's a significant improvement, right? From 18 to 21, you can see that it is almost double. So again, there are issues with integration of solar power plants with grid. It is intermittent, so every time grid operator has to maintain additional spinning reserve. So some kind of arrangement, whether it is diesel or gas turbine, some kind of backup should be there when solar power system is not able to give supply. The spinning reserve will be able to fulfill the demand. So for that, what is required? Accurate prediction, accurate forecasting is required every hour, every hour, sub-hourly, half-hourly forecasting is required to allow unit commitment. What is unit commitment? Every time the whole demand should be distributed in such a manner that reduced loss and best pricing can be achieved. So it is definitely a very high demand. And further, so another factor is that large transmission system issues. Large power solar plant as high as 100 megawatt, and so they may be located in places which are far away from the transmission line. So how to integrate them? So if a power plant, solar power plant of 100 megawatt is there, it's going to be a huge one, because we know for establishing even a small megawatt wind solar plant, it requires huge land. So 100 megawatt is a very big plant, and it has to be integrated to the transmission line. Definitely this much big solar plant cannot be installed in city as well. So it is quite away from the load center. So connecting this much of large scale plant to existing grid, smart planning is required. So for we have to have the system, so in future we can integrate more solar system to the existing power system. Further, distribution system issues are already there. With the increased penetration of, there are various institutions, various residential, various in most of the universities, most of the offices, big offices, they are going for rooftop solar panels. So it's they are integrated to grid. So it's giving a big challenge for the distribution infrastructure. So grid operators are facing shift in peak demands. So whatever be the peak demands earlier, they need to be recalculated. And load pattern is further changing like anything. So it requires a huge, a very strong skills required by the operators and the engineers of handling bulk data, variable data, forecasting, data analytics. It has got used. And reverse power flow is one challenge, voltage control difficulty, phase unbalance. It's not also always possible that the load is uniformly distributed in all three phases. There may be the problem with phase unbalance. Power quality issues, voltage and frequency fluctuations, they are there. But the harmonics, with every solar panel there is inverters. So inverters are producing large harmonics, and those harmonics are being fed to the grid, which is further producing a big challenge. Increased reactive power, islanding detection difficulty, these are the various issues. And some initiatives were taken by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Sources. So they have got dedicated plans for it. So they are aiming for competitive, price grid interactive wind power. It also covers research and development based activities, survey and assessment of wind resources. And competitive pricing of solar power is further a task. A small hydro, we need to have small hydropower plants in the small areas, wherever small availability of power is there at hills and all. So up to 525 megawatt small hydro megawatt, they are another source of distributed resources, and they can be used in microgrid scenario, various plants to convert wastage into electricity. And these are some of the achievements by in our country. Solar capacity increased in last 7 years from 2.6 megawatt to more than 42 gigawatt. 2.6 gigawatt to more than 42 gigawatt. So it's a huge increase in the capacity. largest renewable energy expansion plan is 175 megawatt till 2020. So it's going on. It is developing at a good pace. So renewable energy has a share of 25.24% in the total installed generation capacity in the country. So it's a one-fourth share is of renewable. So it's definitely a commendable thing. India now at 5th global position for overall installed renewable energy capacity. So it's a very significant achievement. So further, solar power tariffs are introduced somewhere around 25% using plug and play model. Solar pumps are installed. Significant number of solar pumps are installed. So very dedicated, very strong efforts are being made by all the people who are in the field. Further, renewable energy installed capacity increased for 226% in the last 5 years. And solar, it's a very encouraging figure. Solar park scheme doubled from 20 gigawatt to 40, and a record low solar power drive 2.44 unit achieved in Rajasthan. Highest ever wind capacity addition in 5.5 gigawatt in 1670. Further, it's going to give good results. But now the capacity building of solar panels are at a much faster pace than wind. So these are some of the things. And there are only 3 countries which account for the global renewable expansion in 2020. In China is leading. US, it is followed by USA, and definitely with the consistent effort being put by everybody, government leverages subsidies, improvement in the technology, it's possible to achieve this position as well. If not in 2020, 22, maybe a year or two later. And so this is the condition of today's electricity system. Not exactly, because a lot of things are already there, but tomorrow is definitely is going to be like this. We hope so. So there will be power parks, there will be hydrogen storage, wind farm, rooftop solar voltaic cell. They are already there. Smart substations, combined heat and power, energy storage devices. So this is future great. So what can we conclude? That using various improving the quality of power and voltage is a big task, and that can be achieved with the help of various smart inverter technologies, advanced inverter technologies. A lot of research is going on in this field, and it's able to handle the challenges being faced. Further, suitable starting and dynamic composition techniques are there to improve voltage and power quality when we connect renewable energy to grid, as capacitors are giving static compensation, and STATCOMs and synchronous condenser, they are able to give dynamic compensation. With IoT, data science, cloud computing, smart technology can be implemented to meet the challenges of the future. An electric vehicle, we saw the effect of electric vehicle E2V technology. An electric vehicle doesn't reduce overall emission unless the country has major hydro, renewable or nuclear power stations. A grid cannot run on renewable sources like wind, solar, biogas, etc. A major portion of the power has to be supplied by thermal power plant. Unless the country state has hydro and nuclear power generation, EVs are no good for emission reduction. So what's there? What is expected that we have to have more renewable energy based solutions. EVs with large capacity energy devices can participate in grid services, including peak shaving and valley filling, frequency regulation, emergency power supply, and increase the grid capacity in the integration of new and intermittent energy. And we can, with the help of FACTS devices, we can further improve the performance. And with the consistent effort, we will be able to achieve the sustainable development goals with consistent effort and futuristic technologies. So these are some of the references. You know, most of you must be aware about Earth Overshoot Day. So each year, Earth Overshoot Day marks the day when we have used all the biological resources the Earth can renew during the entire day. That means every year some replenishment of the old resources, those are exhausted, it's replenished by Earth in its own way. But what humanity, what we people as a human, what we are doing, we are using it not in the whole year. And every year this World Earth Overshoot Day is shifting. Last year it was 22nd August and this year it was on 29th July. What does it mean? Last year we consumed the resources by August 22, but this year we have already consumed the whole resources which were there for the whole year by 29th of July. So we need to, what we need to do, you see, earlier the situation was much better, but gradually it's going very bad. So what we need to have, this has to be shifted upwards like in the previous years. Earlier the situation was much better, and with the lot of development, so-called development, where are we going? And everybody knows what kind of challenges we all are facing because of uncontrolled consumption. So thank you so very much. Together we can definitely make this world brighter, cleaner and greener. And thanks a lot for patient listening, and I'm open for any kind of queries if you have.
Hello participants, regarding any queries on this session, please.
Madam, I'm Ravichandra Ganesh from Chennai. Are you hearing, sir?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
No. Madam, very good lecture. Actually, patiently you are taken 2 hours. I have one small doubt. You are given that we are going to compete for China and America next India. You have given. So, in what way actually energy demand? Once we are going to reach the energy demand, automatically our everything, what about the income, everything is going to be increased for the country. But what way in energy sector, which energy sector we are going to be get in third position? Can you explain, madam?
I'm not able to follow you. Can you repeat the question?
No, actually in energy sector we are very poor. Actually we are mostly dependent upon the coal only in India.
Yes. So
So
only
actually,
solution is renewables. That's why there's a huge expansion plans for renewable energy sectors is going on, like rooftop solar panels, wind power plants. They are the solutions. And further, there are challenges with nuclear, but if the conditions are, if international constraints won't force us, we can go for that as well.
Oh, okay, okay. But nuclear very rare now, madam. Actually,
But
even I
it's,
mean,
but it's able to get most of the demands. But
but still they are
definitely
not.
we cannot go for it. So only solution that remains with us is solar and wind. So others,
Actually,
yes.
yes, madam. Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Please, please. Okay, you can continue, madam.
And as far as other renewable sources are concerned, they are not able to generate the electricity in bulk. So we need to have, their technology is not developed so far, but these two technologies, wind technology, wind energy conversion technology, and the solar technology, they are nearly mature. So further, some hiccups are there, some challenges are there, and we are trying hard to meet those challenges. So I hope that if and further, energy saving is energy generating. So if we have efficient energy efficiency programs, how to reduce the consumption of energy, how to use it efficiently, in that direction also we can have a better scenario in future.
Why not the actually government has not taken the steps at least yearly, some at least 220 megawatts or 200 megawatts something nuclear energy can be producing, means that will be not
Actually,
burden
it's
for the
not so.
country.
It's not so. For establishing nuclear power plants, you need to have it's always better to have very large capacity nuclear power plants. We cannot include it in chunks. You have to have very large capacity nuclear power plants like 1,000, 1,500, and so not less
1000
than.
megawatts.
It's not
Okay.
advisable to use a small capacity nuclear power plants.
But that one also they are not initiating now, madam. Every year, some
Yes.
little bit they can approach for the nuclear power plants. That will be going to be developed. Actually, nuclear power plant.
Various environmental factors are forcing us not to go for that. So it's a major challenge in that.
Oh, okay, 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 madam. And what about solar? Actually, some areas only they are concentrating. And what about some areas still not developed the solar power plants, madam?
So it's a kind of